When considering installing a home fire alarm system, especially in a large home, a few important factors come into play. Firstly, you need to decide on the type of system to install. There are residential systems, which are designed for smaller homes and are typically easier and more cost-effective to install yourself. Secondly, there are commercial systems, which are more advanced and suitable for large spaces, but often require professional installation and are more expensive, although they offer more features. Another important aspect is zoning. Divide the home into multiple zones, such as bedrooms and living areas, to isolate and quickly identify where an alarm has been activated. Think about which sensors to use. It's a good idea to install both ionization smoke detectors, which are better for fast-flaming fires, and photoelectric smoke detectors, which are better for smoldering fires. Heat detectors are essential for kitchens and garages. Interconnection is also important. All smoke and heat detectors should be interconnected so that if one goes off, every alarm in the house is triggered. For large homes, commercial systems are often recommended. Simplex TrueSensor is an advanced system with wireless and hardwired options. It allows customizable zoning and easy programming. Pyrotronics Light Touch is a cost-effective commercial system that can be used in residential applications. It has multiple zones and allows remote access. If you are looking for cheaper alternatives, KidFireX is a residential system that has interconnected smoke and heat detectors, allows up to 12 zones, and has a 10-year battery life. First Alert BRK is an affordable system with interconnected smoke and heat detectors, allows up to 7 zones, and has a 5-year battery life. It's highly recommended to hire a professional installer, especially for commercial systems in large homes. Always ensure that the system meets local building codes and fire safety regulations. Regularly test and inspect the system monthly, and replace batteries annually. Consider integrating the system with other home automation devices, like lighting and door locks, for enhanced safety. Most quality systems should last at least 10 years with proper maintenance. However, technological advancements might warrant system upgrades over time. Now let's delve deeper into the technical aspects of fire alarm systems. First, let's discuss the different types of initiating devices. Smoke detectors are a crucial part of any fire alarm system. Ionization smoke detectors use a small amount of radioactive material to ionize the air inside the detection chamber. When smoke particles enter the chamber, they disrupt the ionization current, triggering the alarm. Photoelectric smoke detectors, on the other hand, use a light source and a photosensor. When smoke enters the chamber, it scatters the light, causing it to hit the photosensor and trigger the alarm. Heat detectors are also important, especially in areas where smoke detectors might be prone to false alarms, such as kitchens. Fixed temperature heat detectors activate when the temperature reaches a specific threshold, while rate of rise heat detectors activate when the temperature increases rapidly. Combination detectors, which combine both smoke and heat detection, are also available. Next, let's talk about notification appliances. These are the devices that alert occupants of a fire. Horns and strobes are the most common type of notification appliance. Horns produce a loud audible signal, while strobes produce a flashing light. The candela rating of the strobe indicates its brightness, and the appropriate candela rating depends on the size and shape of the room. Speakers are also used in some fire alarm systems to provide voice evacuation messages. These messages can provide occupants with specific instructions on how to evacuate the building. Now let's discuss the Fire Alarm Control Panel, or FACP. The FACP is the brain of the fire alarm system. It receives signals from the initiating devices, activates the notification appliances, and monitors the system for faults. The FACP also has a number of other features, such as the ability to silence the alarm, reset the system, and perform diagnostic tests. The FACP is typically powered by both alternating current, or AC, power and a backup battery. The battery ensures that the system will continue to operate even if there is a power outage. The size of the battery depends on the size of the system and the amount of time it needs to operate on battery power. Fire alarm systems are typically wired using either a Class A or Class B wiring configuration. In a class of wiring configuration, the circuit is wired in a loop so that a break in the wire will not disable the entire circuit. In a Class B wiring configuration, the circuit is wired in a single run so that a break in the wire will disable the entire circuit. Class A wiring is more expensive, but it is also more reliable. Now, let's talk about some of the codes and standards that govern the installation of fire alarm systems. In the United States, the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, develops and publishes codes and standards for fire protection. NFPA 72 is the National Fire Alarm and Signaling Code. This code provides requirements for the design, installation, inspection, testing, and maintenance of fire alarm systems. Local building codes also have requirements for fire alarm systems. These requirements may vary depending on the jurisdiction. It is important to consult with local authorities to ensure that the fire alarm system complies with all applicable codes and standards. When designing a fire alarm system, it is important to consider the specific needs of the building and its occupants. The size and layout of the building, the type of occupancy, and the potential fire hazards all need to be taken into account. It is also important to consider the needs of people with disabilities. The Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, requires that fire alarm systems be accessible to people with disabilities. This includes providing visual alarms for people who are deaf or hard of hearing, and audible alarms that are loud enough to be heard by people with hearing loss. Once the fire alarm system is installed, it is important to inspect and test it regularly. NFPA 72 requires that fire alarm systems be inspected and tested at least annually. The inspection should include a visual inspection of all components of the system, as well as a functional test of the initiating devices and notification appliances. The testing should be performed by a qualified technician. In addition to the annual inspection and testing, it is also important to perform regular maintenance on the fire alarm system. This includes cleaning the smoke detectors, replacing batteries, and checking the wiring. Proper maintenance will help to ensure that the fire alarm system will operate reliably in the event of a fire. Now let's look into some more advanced aspects of fire alarm systems, focusing on addressable systems, networking, and integration with other building systems. Addressable fire alarm systems offer several advantages over conventional systems. In an addressable system, each device, such as a smoke detector or pull station, has a unique address. This allows the fire alarm control panel to pinpoint the exact location of an alarm or trouble condition. This can save valuable time in an emergency, as firefighters can quickly locate the source of the problem. Addressable systems also offer more flexibility and scalability than conventional systems. It is easier to add or remove devices from the system, and the system can be expanded to cover larger areas. Addressable systems typically use a two-wire communication loop, which simplifies wiring and reduces installation costs. Fire alarm systems can also be networked together. This allows multiple fire alarm control panels to communicate with each other, and it allows the system to be monitored from a central location. Networking is often used in large buildings or campuses, where it is necessary to have multiple fire alarm control panels. Networking can also improve the reliability of the system, as a failure in one control panel will not necessarily disable the entire system. Fire alarm systems can also be integrated with other building systems, such as building automation systems, or BAS, and access control systems. Integration with a building automation system can allow the fire alarm system to control other building systems in the event of a fire. For example, the fire alarm system can shut down the air conditioning system to prevent the spread of smoke, or it can open doors to allow occupants to evacuate the building. Integration with an access control system can allow the fire alarm system to unlock doors to allow firefighters to enter the building. When integrating a fire alarm system with other building systems, it is important to ensure that the systems are compatible and that the integration is properly designed and implemented. It is also important to test the integrated system to ensure that it operates correctly in the event of a fire. Now, let's discuss the power supply requirements for fire alarm systems. Fire alarm systems require a reliable power supply to operate properly. The power supply must be able to provide enough power to operate all of the devices on the system, including the initiating devices, notification appliances, and the fire alarm control panel. The power supply must also have a backup power source, such as a battery, to ensure that the system will continue to operate even if there is a power outage. NFPA 72 provides detailed requirements for the power supply of fire alarm systems. The code specifies the minimum voltage and current requirements for the power supply, as well as the size and type of battery that must be used. The code also requires that the power supply be supervised to ensure that it is operating properly. The power supply should be installed in a location that is protected from damage and unauthorized access. The power supply should also be clearly labeled to indicate its purpose. When selecting a power supply for a fire alarm system, it is important to consider the specific needs of the system. The size and layout of the building, the type of occupancy, and the number of devices in the system all need to be taken into account. It is also important to select a power supply that is listed by a nationally recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories, or all. Now let's delve into the specifics of wiring and cabling for fire alarm systems, including types of wire, conduit requirements, and grounding. The type of wire used for fire alarm systems is critical for ensuring reliable operation and safety. Typically, fire alarm systems use fire-resistant cable, often referred to as FPL or FPLR cable. FPL cable is suitable for general-purpose fire alarm wiring, while FPLR cable is riser-rated, making it suitable for vertical runs between floors. These cables are designed to resist the spread of fire, which is crucial in maintaining the integrity of the fire alarm system during a fire. The size of the wire is also important. The appropriate wire gauge depends on the current carrying capacity required by the system and the distance of the wire run. Using the correct wire size helps to prevent voltage drop and ensures that devices receive adequate power. Conduit is often required to protect fire alarm wiring, especially in areas where the wiring is exposed to physical damage. Metal conduit, such as EMT or rigid conduit, provides excellent protection against physical damage and fire. Non-metallic conduit, such as PVC conduit, can also be used in some applications, but it is important to ensure that the conduit is listed for use in fire alarm systems. The NEC in Article 760 provides detailed requirements for the installation of fire alarm circuits. This article covers topics such as wiring methods, conductor sizes, and overcurrent protection. Grounding is another important aspect of fire alarm wiring. The fire alarm system should be properly grounded to prevent electrical shock and to reduce the risk of damage from lightning strikes. The grounding conductor should be connected to a suitable grounding electrode, such as a ground rod or a metal water pipe. The NEC provides requirements for grounding fire alarm systems in Article 250. When installing fire alarm wiring, it is important to follow all applicable codes and standards. This will help to ensure that the system is installed safely and correctly, and that it will operate reliably in the event of a fire. Now let's discuss the topic of inspection, testing, and maintenance of fire alarm systems, including frequency, procedures, and record keeping. Regular inspection, testing, and maintenance are essential for ensuring that a fire alarm system will operate reliably in the event of a fire. NFPA 72 provides detailed requirements for the inspection, testing, and maintenance of fire alarm systems. The frequency of inspection and testing depends on the type of system and the occupancy of the building. However, as a general rule, fire alarm systems should be inspected and tested at least annually. The inspection should include a visual inspection of all components of the system, including the initiating devices, notification appliances, and the fire alarm control panel. The inspection should also include a check of the battery voltage and a test of the system's grounding. The testing should include a functional test of the initiating devices and notification appliances. This includes testing the smoke detectors, heat detectors, and manual pull stations to ensure that they activate the alarm. It also includes testing the horns, strobes, and speakers to ensure that they operate properly. The testing should be performed by a qualified technician who is familiar with the fire alarm system. Detailed records of all inspection, testing, and maintenance activities should be kept. These records should include the date of the inspection, the name of the technician who performed the inspection, and the results of the inspection. The records should also include a list of any repairs that were made to the system. These records are important for tracking the performance of the fire alarm system and for identifying any potential problems. The records should be kept in a safe place and should be readily available for inspection by the fire marshal or other authority having jurisdiction. In addition to the annual inspection and testing, it is also important to perform regular maintenance on the fire alarm system. This includes cleaning the smoke detectors, replacing batteries, and checking the wiring. Proper maintenance will help to ensure that the fire alarm system will operate reliably in the event of a fire. The owner or occupant of the building is responsible for ensuring that the fire alarm system is properly inspected, tested, and maintained. This responsibility can be delegated to a qualified contractor, but the owner or occupant is still ultimately responsible for ensuring that the work is done properly. Finally, let's consider some advanced technologies in fire alarm systems, such as wireless systems, voice evacuation systems, and integration with smart home technology. Wireless fire alarm systems offer several advantages over traditional wired systems. They are easier to install, as there is no need to run wires between devices. They are also more flexible, as devices can be easily moved or added to the system. Wireless systems typically use radio frequency, or RF, communication to transmit signals between devices and the fire alarm control panel. It is important to ensure that the wireless system is reliable and that it is not susceptible to interference. Voice evacuation systems use speakers to provide voice messages to occupants during a fire. These messages can provide specific instructions on how to evacuate the building. Voice evacuation systems can be more effective than traditional horns and strobes, as they can provide more information to occupants and can help to prevent panic. Fire alarm systems can also be integrated with smart home technology. This can allow the fire alarm system to control other smart home devices in the event of a fire. For example, the fire alarm system can turn on the lights, unlock the doors, and shut off the gas. Integration with smart home technology can enhance the safety and security of the home. When selecting a fire alarm system, it is important to consider the specific needs of the home and its occupants. A qualified fire alarm contractor can help to assess the needs of the home and to select the appropriate system. Installing and maintaining a fire alarm system is a critical step in protecting your home and family from fire. By following the guidelines in this discussion, you can help to ensure that your fire alarm system will operate reliably in the event of a fire.